Hello and welcome to the behind the scenes video for Nomophobia. I am John Campbell. I wrote this video, and with me today to do the commentary on it is Jess Sanchez. What's up, Jess?
Hello.
So before we get started into the commentary, I just thought we would explain kind of what we want to do with this different sort of behind the scenes video. First, there were a lot of things I think we both can kind of agree on, Jess, that we wish we did better on this film.
Right.
And I think what I thought would be a good idea to do was, instead of kind of giving excuses on maybe organization or we didn't have enough time or whatever, we could actually watch the movie and go into like specific details on, okay, this is why this didn't work. This is what we wished we could have done. Or if we had the time, we would have done this. This is what we would have planned out better. I think overall, a big issue was the lack of planning. Right? I mean, we didn't have a lot of time. We only had like one weekend to shoot this.
You know, there's only 3 of us. Everybody was out of town.
Yeah, for like 3 consecutive weeks.
Yeah, so it just kind of really threw like a whole wrench in the production.
Yeah, and I think too, before we dive in, I think what we want to really try for our next film is having a different cast that isn't us, because as we said, we're a small team, and making us do both all your cinematographer roles and directing, and then Corey set dressing plus script doctoring plus acting in it plus
Right.
me writing in it and not being able to like tell the actors, oh, I wish you did this better or worse when I'm the one in there. It just made it really tough. So I think on our next production, actually having other actors is something we definitely want to try to do. So I think, unlike a lot of the film, I think this opening shot and this sequence actually does a pretty good job of telling a story. You're automatically kind of seeing that the technology with the phone, with the shots, and then this sort of lonely, isolated face that's going on. I think we did a good job of communicating story in these opening bits.
A lot of the lighting was so run and gun, and just like we were using just a bounce from like the 2Ks.
Yeah.
Just basically trying to create like a key and a fill. We weren't able to like mount any lights up top above you, so you're not really separated from the background.
Going back to like what I liked about these opening shots is, to me, they actually do, like, the angles tell, and the actions that are going on actually do communicate like movement with a story going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like the opening shot inside the briefcase, I think, is pretty cool, staring up at me.
Yeah, I like the shot of the phone, like on the random white.
Yeah. The holder.
Because everything is just so dark. It's just like really hard to.
That's another thing too. If we had more time, I think because this is supposed to kind of exist in like a futuristic kind of world, so it would have been cool if we had like a more futuristic object than like a white piece of cardboard holding the phone together. But you know, we did worked with what we can. But these shots are actually communicating to me something. Like actually moving from, okay, you know that he's like an isolated person, you know that he's kind of addicted to this form of technology, and also linking that to like this relationship that he's really trying to avoid. So all that's sort of communicated to me without any dialogue, which I think we did a good job of there. So, but then once we get to this section, and this is the part that I feel like I could have done a better job writing, because to me, this is sort of back and forth. There's a great line that someone wrote, or someone's told me once about a movie, and it's that like you should be able to tell what's going on in the story just with the sound turned off, like just visually. And if you look at this like section, you don't really get that, because nothing's really going on. It's just a back and forth dialogue between these two characters. So I wish I sort of wrote in some form of movement that could relate more to the characters and what they're going through, instead of just putting stock footage over the top like a documentary B-roll, you know?
Yeah.
So that's something I think I'm definitely going to keep in mind for the next section, or the next video we make. But I do kind of like the blue light effect from the hologram. I think that turned out better than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I think you did a great job, like bringing in post production, and it would have been nice if we would have actually been able to like bring in some practical lights and
Yeah.
actual like lighting effects like in it, but
Yeah.
we just didn't have like the time and the resources to do it.
Yeah. And this hologram, I didn't make myself. I won't take credit for that. I bought it for like $10. I think it was pretty cheap. It was like 10 or $20. It was actually pretty cool. Like they gave you a whole section of After Effects project that you could modify and tweak. It was actually kind of tricky to figure out how to change the colors, because they gave you a Photoshop file and an After Effects file, and I tried to change the colors in Photoshop, but I couldn't figure out why it wasn't changing the hologram in After Effects, because it was white in After Effects. And I eventually figured out that there was like one color layer tint that was controlling the rest of it. So once I changed that to blue, eventually that worked. But it was tricky to figure that out. And then I think if I had more time, I would have sort of manipulated the hologram to move in different ways, because right now, if you'll look at it closely, you'll see it's just doing the same thing in every shot. So I think what would have been cool is maybe rotating it out a different way when she's angry or upset, or changing this color when she's sad, maybe too, like changing it to red at the end, or
deeper blues or something.
Yeah, something to show like kind of emotion behind what she's saying. And then that way, again, going back to like visually communicating what's happening, we could have seen that more visually as well as through the dialogue. So I think that would have been pretty cool. Yeah, see, for this part, when Corey comes in, I think, and it goes to Iris, I think a different color would be really cool to put on her right there, because it would have shown how,
bit of a different emotion,
how mad she is that this is happening, how close Steven was to finally getting away from her, and in a way that Iris never could, because Steven has like a physical body. Yeah, I think it would have made it more powerful. But I do, again, like this shot that kind of mimics the first shot from the briefcase. And I think this is really cool, the lighting here with the background.
Yeah, that looks pretty decent to me. It's a little dark.
Yeah. And I added in the same blue adjustment layer that I did for like this. I added it in on half of his face, which I think looks really cool, because it's like he's like fighting between like the human. I mean, he's not half human and half cyborg, but like his emotions kind of are half human.
Yeah.
And so that kind of shows like
I
through the colors.
I like the effects that you were able to like create in post. I like the blue gradient that you were able to like fill in on it.
Yeah. I think the big takeaways for me on this one were probably be shortening and concising up the dialogue in the middle, creating more actions for them to do in that same middle to convey emotion through actions and not just words. I think it's that show me, don't tell me kind of policy, where I think a lot of these things, the words that they're saying in the middle are sort of the emotions I want you to take away from the video, but it shouldn't have just been said. It should have been like shown through things that happen. That makes sense. But overall we worked with what we could.
Yeah, it was.
And we learned a lot, which is really why we're involved in Distant Tape Productions. So
right. I mean, we did it. So good on us for completing another short.
So how, if you could do it again, would you say lighting wise, what would you want to try lighting it?
Yeah, I think like my biggest thing that I would have done differently is tried to control like a little bit of like the ratios like a little bit more for the key and fill. And I would have really have loved to like been able to put up like a backlight on you, because like to me you're just completely blended into the background. There's like not really like any separation. And I mean that just has to do with like a lot of like the space that we were dealing with also. We couldn't really separate you from the background to like get like a nice blur, because it's a small garage and we were limited on space. But it is what it is. Lessons learned, and we know what to do for our next video.
We are ready
for our next short.
So watch out for that, and thank you for watching, and make sure to check out everything else Distant Tape Productions comes out with in the near future. I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you.